Welcome to today's episode of Jam
Jam
Buds.
Buds.
So, today, your host, Blazing Dragon, and
Madam Red.
we're going to be talking about some current events. So, the other episodes were pretty lighthearted, kiki haha. We'll still have some kiki ha-has because we got to keep it light because got to make sure that we stay strong and we don't go crying. Stay strong, keep hope, and make sure that we all keep fighting for what's right. So we do have several important topics that we are going to be talking about. I have this green screen because my room apparently does not agree with me pulling up screenshots for background without things popping up in it, and I want you guys to be able to see the citations and sources, of which I will be adding all the links that we have compiled into the description of this video for anybody to pull up and follow along. Okay, so our first little topic we're gonna start with light was the BAFTA Awards incident. So now here's the truth of the matter, and this is objectively truth. These are facts. Two men were on stage delivering a speech, Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo.
Yeah, Delroy Lindo.
Lindo, okay. And they were delivering a speech. One of the other men in the audience, who suffers from diagnosed Tourette's and coprolalia, unfortunately shouted a slur while these two men were on stage. Now, there are several other truths about this as well. Apparently, it wasn't the only time it had happened, and then other incidents that it had happened were edited out by the BBC, as well as one of the other actors that had come out and said "Free Palestine" in their speech. That was also edited out. So these things could have been edited out so that it wouldn't have caused such a big incident. Granted, now the man, John Davidson, was there promoting his film called I Swear. And we understand that he has a disability. Disabilities do not give you a free pass to not apologize for when harm is inflicted by your disability. People keep using the whataboutisms of what if someone was in a wheelchair and ran over your foot? Would you expect them to apologize? Yes, I would. Just as if I was in a wheelchair and I ran over someone's foot, I would apologize. I apologize for my mental breakdowns that are caused by my mental illnesses and stuff. So a proper apology for what was said, because intent does not equal impact.
Right.
Your intent can be genuine and pure, but the impact is what truly matters. Now, I had learned for the research that apparently he had reached out to them after this incident happened directly and has apologized. So I do hope that this incident, one, brings more awareness to the disability, because when you research what coprolalia is, it literally is the symptom of Tourette's that causes you to blurt out the most obscene things that you can possibly say. It's not just regular cursing. It's beyond even that. So I'm not a doctor. I don't have Tourette's. The only people that I've ever known to have Tourette's only really ever had physical tics, and didn't really have too much verbal tics. So my main takeaway from all of this is, when we do something that harms someone else and it's brought to our attention, it is not up to us to decide how we hurt them. Apologize and just make an effort to do better.
What I don't understand is why it was kept in. Why wasn't it edited out? Why did the news network or
BBC News, I believe BBC. It was.
Oh, well, BBC might not.
No, they edited out other things. There were several other incidents apparently that were edited out, so I don't understand why that one couldn't have been. A lot of people have speculated that it could have been for exposure for his movie.
Well, that's shitty.
That's a shitty way to do it. I don't think he had intention for that. I don't think that was part of his plan. I genuinely believe he had a tick for his disability. Just apologize for what was said. Because it was very loud. Granted, like I said, your intent may not have mattered. I mean, your intent may not have been to do that, but your intent doesn't matter when it's something to that degree. Just apologize for it, for saying that. I apologize for the harm that it caused. Not, I apologize if my tick offended anybody. No.
Right.
You know it did. Period.
Right.
Apologize for it. That's it.
Because that's a very backhanded apology. Like, I'm sorry you got offended.
Right. And I don't want you apologizing for having a disability. That's not what that's about. And everybody who's been saying about the apology has been saying it's not about apologizing for having a disability. We understand that. But you can still apologize for the harm that you caused in that moment.
Right.
And that's simple. I think it's simple. I apologize. Like now that I know that they're like what it is meltdowns where you just start going and spiral. I apologize, but I've always apologized for them because half the time after I'm like, I don't even remember why I'm so angry. So for things like that, anything, you can always apologize for the impact that you have on other people.
Right.
Just work to do better. That's it. So simple. I figured that was a decent light one to like kind of start with.
Not really light because it's still
well,
not. But
it's not light in the sense of like it's very important to address these things because it's important. Like you're right. It's not light because to be anti-racist means you also have to be pro-black, which means you have to stand up in spaces and speak for people that can't speak in those spaces themselves.
Right.
Just don't presume to tell them how to feel. Because being half Hispanic, I still will never understand the Black experience. It's not possible.
Right.
So I will never stand somewhere and be like, Black people should feel this way about an incident. No. What they say, I listen to. It's as simple as that. They're the ones who know and have been going through it.
Right, right.
Now, my experience is just with the LGBTQ side of everything. That's it. That's the only thing I have experienced as far as that, and the little bit of racism I've experienced with being Latino. But otherwise, it's really just don't tell Black people how to feel about racism.
Facts.
All right. So, moving into the next topic, I don't have screenshots of this type of stuff because I'm not about to subject anyone to having to read that kind of stuff. If you really want to read that kind of stuff for yourself, you are more than welcome to Google. There's whole websites dedicated. If y'all need me to, I can share a link in the description. You can comment asking for that one and I'll add it after the fact, but there's plenty of resources for that on its own. The unredacted Epstein files. Let's talk about that.
So, there's actually a website that kind of looks like Gmail, and
yes,
it's called jworld.mail.
Yes,
and it pretty much shows you all of the different contacts, all of the different emails. A lot of them are hard to decipher because if you're listening to what's being said in the news or social media, when they say code words, then you look up those code words and they're in here, but it's as if they're having normal conversations because it's code words. Like,
Right.
they're not going to just be out saying like, let's eat babies or let's do things like that.
Right.
They're going to be using cream
Let's
cheese.
have a pizza party.
Let's have a pizza party.
Or
Let's
pool
eat cream
parties,
cheese. I
or
want to have veggie cream cheese or a pacifier. Speaking about a pacifier, like those things, you do see them in there. And I haven't gone through, obviously, there's so many files. There's 6 million. I haven't gone through
Is
many
it up to
of them.
6 million now?
Yeah. And there's about 500 pages that they're saying have been withheld from the DOJ.
Yes.
So and those are the ones with the president in them as well.
Yes.
So, and those are the ones where a 13-year-old accused him of sexually assaulting her.
Yes.
So those are the ones that are
And
missing.
that's the one. Those are some of the ones that have been available since the first time that this has been mentioned. Um, and I've been talking about this quite extensively, not as much as I am now, because now I just can't stop talking about it because it lives in my head rent free. I'm angry. Um, I've been talking since back then when it first got mentioned, and I actually lost a lot of friends over it because they really thought I was crazy saying that our world was run by an elite cabal of PDF files that are purposely targeting our children.
Right.
And everybody was like, nah, that's crazy, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, think about it. Why is our foster care system such garbage? Why does CPS take children away from good families and doesn't do anything for the abusive families? It lets them keep being abused until eventually the kids end up in the foster care system anyway.
Right.
Look at all these missing children. How are we not doing anything to find them? There's missing children everywhere. And I used to think about this stuff when I was a kid, and I'd be in Walmart and I would see the wall of missing children, and I'd be like, what do you mean missing children? Why are children missing? Why is nobody on the look? How is nobody seeing these children anywhere? Well, of course not, because there's a massive network that spans the entire globe, and there is evidence upon evidence upon evidence. So anyone who is still in denial by this point is just that, in denial.
Right.
I have seen things, unfortunately, by not even looking because I follow so many pages that are so well invested in this. There are things that I will never be that will haunt me forever because
Right.
unfortunately people describe things in ways or they share the things without trigger warnings, and that's also a major part. When you go looking for this, you need to be very careful.
Very.
It is a tactic that lawyers and DAs have actually said is a very effective tactic when horrific crimes happen and they dump all the evidence and basically, for lack of better terms, assault the jury's senses with scenes of horrific violence, gore, and descriptions to that nature. When they have cases to this degree, what they are supposed to do is they are supposed to drip feed everything in an organized, released pattern. You are not just supposed to be able to look through things and all of a sudden you're stumbling upon something that's innocent code words, and then all of a sudden you're stumbling upon a horrific audio, and then a horrific video, and then horrific pictures, and then you're back to regular old emails that don't sound like anything, and your mind can't handle that.
Right.
So you're supposed to be drip fed it. We shouldn't even really be getting any of this. Really, we have no reason. Like the regular layman has no reason to be experiencing those files. There's nothing we're going to
Well,
do about those files.
that's
We need the
so
list of names.
because right, but because we have the rights to things like that, like
Yes.
we anything that's public and not for
Yes.
eyes only, or that hasn't been sealed by a judge, is open to the public. So you can literally go and
Oh, yes.
request files from even just a DUI. Say a DUI case happened, you
Yeah.
can go to the courthouse in
Oh, yeah.
Stroudsburg and just be like, hey, I want to request any public record. You can do that, and it's our constitutional right to be informed. So I do agree that we should have rights to the Epstein files, but I do also agree that not everybody should be going out reading them, and it shouldn't be as mainstreamed
No.
because now everything is social media based. So like everybody is talking about it. Go on TikTok, everybody is talking about everything that's happening. It's like you can't escape it. Then you
No.
go on Facebook, it's all over the place. You go on Instagram, it's everywhere. So like you can't escape it. Even if
No.
you want to, you've heard some information about the Epstein files and the nonsense and craziness and the conspiracy theories that we heard in 2016 are now literally, we're realizing those were real. Those were real. The
And they've been playing
Wayfair
in our
shit
face the
was
whole time.
real. And they've been playing in our face the whole time. And it's scary to know that, like, we're being they're I don't even know what to call them because they're not even demons. I don't even know what to call that type of evil. That type of evil that feeds on children, the type of evil that takes innocence away, the type of evil that feeds on that. Like I can't even, like you said, it's like your brain can't compute.
We can't
It's
compute
like
it,
your
and it's
brain,
not good for our nervous system. It's actually not. Like sometimes after seeing a few posts of it, I start shaking
right?
because imagining I can't. People have already said imagine the worst thing that you already could imagine, and it's worse. And I've already read some of the horrible things that people have said that, like, They're like, this is what's in the files, and they're like, this, and then something actually specific. Not just like it's SA, it's cannibalism, it's ritual sacrifice, it's an incident. And then I'm like reading it and I'm like, and now that's in my head forever. And I won't say things like that to certain people, or especially on video, because I don't want to, that it's triggering enough already. It needed to be handled in a much more organized way. All those files are just dumped. And again, they're not organized and they're not directed. So you could just be scrolling, and then all of a sudden, you're hearing the most horrific audio you've ever heard in your life. You're seeing an image that now makes you complicit in crime, whether you wanted to or not, because it's CSAM.
Yeah.
You can't see that. Viewing that is a crime. It's in the files. Everything's in all the blackmail videos that are there, all of it. And the rest of the world is actively doing something about some of their people that they've found in the files, and is arresting some of them, forcing them to resign, and taking them down.
So what I'm confused about is that, like, I had to really look up what the Epstein files were, because I was very confused on the core of the base of what these are. Like, is it just a little black book? Is it just no, these are actual things that have had FBI investigations.
Yes.
And you're telling me that all of these instances and all of these investigations came out inconclusive? You're telling me that all of these elite people, that this man is convicted of sex trafficking, and he's convicted of human trafficking, and he's convicted of all these things, but then you're telling me that there's not enough evidence, or the FBI, when they investigated these things against the president, against Bill Clinton, against all of these people that are in the file, you're telling me that nothing came about it? Now you're deposing Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton. You're deposing them. You're trying to get information out of them. But, like, you're telling me that the FBI didn't find any credibility, but now they're also starting to try to look at a ranch in Texas, I believe.
Yes, this
I'm
guy,
sorry.
because one of theirs just bought it, and apparently there's like tunnels underneath it.
And they're saying that there may be bodies on property. So if that's the case, and they're a part of the Epstein files, then where did your FBI, where did that go? Where was your investigation? Because then you should have had cadaver dogs.
Well, the answer
You should have had.
the answer to that question is that just goes to show how compromised we are as a country.
Exactly. So, like, so for them to sit here and say, like, there's not going to be any criminal charges for the Epstein files is absolutely insane. It's like, it's literally insane, because if this happened to anybody else, if the president wasn't involved and this happened to just the highest fucking celebrity, look at the Puff Daddy, P Diddy, whatever the fuck his name is. Now I sound old, but look at him. He ended up getting away with a lot of things. And he's at the fucking top. He's an elitist. And look how he ended up still getting at least charged. We're not even charging our president. We're not charging the people that he's putting into his cabinet.
And people are justifying it now.
Why is Steve Bannon Steve Bannon is listen, I have my First Amendment rights, and I'm not inciting any type of violence, but Steve Bannon is a real piece of shit.
Listen, it'll be up to us as the people to make things right. That's just all it boils down to. Because it seems like relying on what we thought were the proper chains and channels to handle these things are letting us down, because it's all corrupt.
Right.
So it's all just,
I feel like the Epstein files and the president being inside them, like
that should be a world-ending conspiracy. Like that should not conspiracy. What is the word? Scandal.
Oh, scandal.
Scandal. Catastrophe. Like that should be a catastrophe. Like people should have been rioting in the streets. I don't understand.
Are we not angry enough? We're seeing people being murdered. Are we not angry enough? I feel like
I ask it every day. I
I
ask it every
understand
day.
being comfortable and being like, well, I unfortunately have to pay my rent. Like,
And I
this
know
is
that
this is the part.
I know it's burnout too, but like, get angry
I know.
because it's not going to get better.
I know. I can empathize with the people who are like, well, I can't because I have to go to work. I can't because I have to literally pay my bills. And
Take care of your
unfortunately,
families. That's important. You must. And take care of yourself as much as you can. If you can't afford to put yourself in jeopardy for whatever reason, that's fine. But there are plenty of us that should be getting out there and getting ready to.
right.
I'm ready to. I just can't do it by myself. That's why I'm like, hello, can somebody be doing something? So, because I like, ain't nobody listening to me. I don't got that kind of following.
No.
I wish.
I
Shit.
feel like a lot of influencers as well should use their
A
platforms
lot of them
to
are.
talk about things.
I actually do follow a lot of them that have just completely
are.
pivoted and they don't even talk about their original shit anymore.
A lot are, but a lot aren't as
No,
well.
and I've started unfollowing the silent ones after a while.
Right. Use your platforms for good.
I keep
When I
saying that, yes.
see
That's why
you,
I
I
want a
just want
platform
to
like that.
see, even if you're like, hey, listen, even like I could understand somebody being like, well, I've always been a conservative. I have conservative values. That's okay. That just means that you're a regular right-wing conservative. There's differences between right-wing conservatives, right-wing extremists, and then terrorists. You can say, I believe in these things and see that Trump is being a fucking piece of shit. What I can't stand against is you being like, no, I'm going to follow him and I'm going to still say everything's okay. Then what traditional values do you have?
Yeah, you're
Because
not.
traditional values show that you're changing your sides.
Yeah.
You have no values if you're able to just give them up as soon as you hear that the president is a fucking child molester. So E. Jean Carroll, he was held civilly liable for sexually assaulting.
And I have watched people on Parker say that because that wasn't a real court, they don't care about that. And he literally, that's his reaction. They literally he'll be like, look at, and they're like, is that the same thing? And they were like, well, because of the statute of limit, like he explains it a lot better than I do because I'm not into law like that. But he's even had her niece come on and explain it. And
there could be a statute of limitation, and that means that they can't hold something criminally liable because the statute of limitation for criminal procedures is different from civil procedures. You can always go for a civil trial as long as there is enough evidence to prove that there is a civil liability or there's like some type of neglect. You can always choose a civil lawsuit.
And there was
criminal lawsuit, there's a statute, unfortunately, and sometime the statute of limitation, I think of New York for sexual assault. Let me actually see.
Statute
of limitation for sexual assault. See, I Google, just so you know, I'm only looking this up for the podcast. Like, chill out. So it's about 10 years for a civil case. It's 18 plus years. For a criminal case that they can get charged as a felony, that is only about a 10-year period. So that's why. It's not because she couldn't hold him criminally liable. It's because of the statute of limitation did not allow her to. So they found a different avenue.
So I have here, it doesn't show the full thing, but again, I'm going to be making sure I put the whole link and everything. This one is actually weareneighbors.org. Again, I will be posting links in the description. But as you can see, the SAVE Act is the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, or SAVE Act, backed by Republicans and the Trump administration on the grounds that it would strengthen the integrity of federal elections by ensuring that only citizens can register to vote, which is already true. This is a fact. Only United States citizens can vote. Quick little bit of a thing, because I know people like to believe in this myth. If you are not a citizen, you do not gain SNAP benefits. You do not gain free like housing stuff. Like you don't like just get handouts from the government. Because to get a lot of those things, you need a social security card.
Because that's, if you're working in the United States, you get a social security card because that's how they track you to give taxes.
Right. So they're paying their taxes. So they're not getting anything for free.
And most of the time, taxes are more
for
for them
them.
than it is for citizens.
Yes. So
Correct.
they aren't just getting anything for free because, well, that's the thing. If they don't have, if they haven't gone to apply for a social security card, that means that they're not getting those benefits.
Correct.
So, like, yeah, they once they go to apply for one, that'll already start putting them on the path for citizenship, wouldn't it? Like, then they'll have to then be like, hey, you're not a citizen, so you need to apply
No,
for a green
so
card.
you can have visas. You can have a working visa,
Yeah,
and you have to
and
make
school,
sure that
and
your
I know school
visas
visas too.
and
Yeah,
a student visa. So you can come into the United States on visas, and usually they give you an extended period of time. And
yes,
then when you come, depending on your background and where you came from, you can seek asylum, which is not what Trump thinks as a sane asylum. It's
yes, because he
seeking
does.
asylum. He really thinks like
He does.
that's so dead serious. So you can seek asylum in the country if where you are is bad enough that you cannot return without fear of
Yeah, of your life.
retaliation or being
Yeah,
killed. So you can seek asylum in a country, and then you can also start applying for your green card. Now, there's different ways to apply for your green card. You can apply just the normal way. You as a person just applying for your green card and going through the steps. You can get it through finding somebody. If you fall in love and you meet somebody and you marry them, you can get your green card that way. And you still cannot get any benefits. You still, even with a green card, cannot get SNAP. You can't get Medicaid, Medicare, none of
that's
that.
the Medicaid. That's the one I was thinking of.
You can't get any of that. And then once you become and you can't vote either. Even with a green card, you cannot vote. And then after you get your green card, you have 5 years to apply for your citizenship test. And then you have to take a civic literacy test to make sure that you pass your citizenship test. And then, and only then, are you able to vote. And even then, getting qualifications for like medical government assistant is hard. It's difficult. Not saying it's impossible, because there are people
Of
who
course.
are citizens, but and 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 for people to also say
Yeah, I'll
like,
admit I don't know that much about the immigration process because I never had to know about that.
right, so a lot of people have the misconception that it's just immigrants that are committing these fraudulent things. Like if an immigrant who's undocumented has SNAP or has those things, it's because they did it under fraudulent circumstances. Just like an American citizen, an American citizen can lie about their paperwork. Do you know how many people? I know several people who have been on SNAP, who have been on government assistance, who had not needed it. They could afford, but they say that they don't live with their husband. They say they don't live with their baby daddy. They lie on the paperwork. So just like American citizens can lie on paperwork, it can happen. Of
Yeah,
course it can happen. Anybody can be
yeah, fraudulence can
committing
happen
fraud.
anywhere.
Yeah, anywhere. And another thing to point across, because I know this doesn't have to do with the Save Act, but American citizens are more, like, I think twice, 2.5 times as likely to commit a crime than an illegal immigrant. And I don't even like to call them illegal, because you
Undocumented,
really can't, right,
because
undocumented,
no one's illegal on the one's an illegal
stolen
person.
land, right. And it's not illegal to be here. It's a civil case. So
Yeah,
if you're
it's literally
here,
just like
it's
a
not
what,
a
$1,000 fine, I think it is.
right. So all the people that are yelling that civil cases aren't anything because it didn't count in this civil court. Well, it's a civil
Right,
liability case if they are here. It's not a criminal thing. They get a fine, they get deported, but it's not they're not criminals for coming here. You're not criminals for trying to seek a better life. Like,
right.
none of us are from here. If you get your ancestry DNA done, America, unless you're indigenous, is not going to fucking show up for you. The United States, unless you're indigenous, is not going to light up
It's
for you.
really
It'll
not.
be all of Europe. It'll be all of those areas. If you're white, it could be Africa. It could be all of those things. But unless you are indigenous, you are not going to have the United States as part of your ancestry. So with that being said, like, why don't you want people to help our economy? These people are helping us.
So U.S. citizens already are the only ones that can vote. If you're not a U.S. citizen, you cannot vote. So the SAVE Act is actually really just going to affect married women because our government hates women, disabled people, LGBTQ, people of color of any kind, black people. I don't even know if I'm if you're just not a straight white able-bodied man under up to 40 years old. That's about it.
Yeah, but if you're a straight able-bodied man who can't find his fucking birth certificate because he lets his mommy handle everything and she died 5 years ago, so he hasn't actually looked for any of the documentation. I'm not talking about my ex or anything like that. But anyway, those things, it affects everyone. It affects anyone who doesn't have a passport. It affects anyone who lost their birth certificate. You're expecting people to re-register to vote in the next 7 months. That's impossible. You're
especially
expecting
because they
people,
prolong that process too.
right? So you're expecting, and also, if the SAFE Act is passed, about 1 out of 10 adults, so U.S. citizens, not even 10 adults, like just regular adults staying on this ground, 1 out of 10 U.S. citizens will not be able to vote because not everyone has access to their birth certificates or their passports, and that's cited from NPR.
Oh yeah, no. If this return to top could actually just get out of the way. The bottom part. I'm trying to read it, but I can't see from where I am.
Okay.
The scope of the problem the bill addresses far less the problem it would create. God damn it. Federal law already prohibits non-citizens voting in federal elections, and prosecutions, while real, involve relatively small numbers.
There's also from the migrationpolicy.org. It says it's illegal for non-citizens to vote in federal or state elections in the United States. There's no evidence that unauthorized immigrants, green card holders, or immigrants on temporary visas are voting in significant numbers despite some of the claims. And so the claims are saying that millions of non-registered or non-documented immigrants are voting, and that's not true.
It's not
There's
true.
not even enough to make.
No, it's just, it's literally propaganda. The only thing that this person's going to affect, the only thing this SAVE Act is going to affect is married women across the country. That's really about it. So you need to really think about that and make sure that you call your senators and you call your lawmakers and you tell them that you do not want this passed. I don't know the current status of it fully right now.
Right.
I don't know if it's failed or passed, because I know it passed Senate and needed to get to House, or the other way around.
Right now, I believe it was passed by the House and it needs to go through the Senate.
Okay. So, yeah, no, call your lawmakers and be like, nah, I don't want that.
But it's not just for women.
No, it's not.
Women. It's literally going to affect literally disabled people. It's going to affect anybody who lost a fucking birth certificate in a flood and never got it replaced, because now you have to get your documents replaced. Then you have to wait for it to come into the mail. Then you have to go and vote again. And now they're trying to take away mail-in votings, like mail-in ballots. So like that's going to affect our disabled veterans. That's going to affect our disabled citizens. Like that's going to affect so many people. And for what reason? Do you not think that any of the red people, which most of them are disabled? Do you not think that any of these red people are not elderly?
Right.
They're gonna need to vote in. They're gonna need to send in their ballots. Not everyone can go to the nearest church or the nearest location to vote. Sometimes it's hard. So like, what's going to happen to all of those citizens? That's 1 in every 10 United States citizen. That is, we have 325 million people in this country. Yeah. 325 million people, and 1 out of 10 citizens who are able to fucking vote, they're not going to be given the right. Right. And that
look up and down your street and just count how many people live around you, and you'll see one of them won't be able to vote, and you'll be lucky if it's just the one.
And I understand that there's many people who don't even vote, but it's not about those people. They have that right. Right. You're taking these rights away. You're making it harder to vote because you don't want anybody to vote in the midterms. Because if you feel like you lose the midterms, then you feel like you're going to be impeached, which I don't understand how he's not already. It's awful.
I feel like he should have just been impeached for shitting himself on national television. And you can Google that. That's a real thing. I watched it. I heard it. I saw it. I almost smelled it with how bad it was fucking done in that video.
The
That
way
lady
that they was
behind
like,
him
all right,
noticed.
everybody go.
And they rushed everybody out of there so they could change that man's diaper. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. Fuck Donald Trump. Fuck that man, yo. All right, so yeah, no, Trump shot himself on live TV. Before we get into this real quick, that's behind me. Trump shot himself on that live TV, delivering a press. Those reporters were ready to ask questions. And he literally shot himself. Try to fact check me, bitch, because I'll pull up the video.
Okay.
And they literally were like Madam Red said, all right, everybody, it's time to leave. And the reporters were like, wait, we have questions and stuff. No, you don't. It's time to leave. It's time to go. All right. So make sure you take this moment to realize that our president is a joke.
I mean,
like he's literally, it's not real. It's real, but like it's just not real. Like,
right.
So I don't know why it's cutting off the top of my shit. These screenshots were supposed to have the links in them as well. But like I said, I'll be putting all the links in the description. Let's talk about Rafah being in Gaza being completely flattened, which is one of the cities in Gaza, Palestine. So Israel's army is flattening the remaining ruins of the city of Rafah on the southern edge of the Gaza Strip, residents say. And what they fear is a part of a plan to herd the population into confinement in a giant camp in the barren ground. Before continuing, from what I have seen of people who post and have gotten information, bombs are nonstop. It's nonstop. The ground never stops shaking. They hear the bombs get closer and then farther away. It never stops. I have seen people say that they're tired of hearing about it. They're tired of living it.
Right.
So maybe don't ever say that. You can block on YouTube. So if anybody come in my comments trying to be crazy, like you will get blocked. I don't care.
We have the audacity to be like, I'm sick of hearing it, but every September 11th, we're like, never forget.
Right.
Don't you never forget it.
Ever. And it's literally like, it's like all day and all day. But these people are literally being bombed. Their homeland is being taken away because some displaced Jews that became Zionists, because it's not all Jewish people, it's the Zionists that believe they have the right to Palestine, have started this war for the last like 80 fucking years and have just been slowly exterminating the Palestinians.
Which is disgusting.
It has been going. The Bibles have been rewritten to reflect Israel being the Holy Land when it's actually Palestine. Israel's brand new. It's only existed for the last like 75 years. And it was a small little state. Basically, imagine you let somebody move into your bedroom in your like 2-story house. You have a downstairs bedroom and you say that they have access to that bedroom and a bathroom. And then one day they have access you just come downstairs and they have access to your other room that's downstairs. And then one day the entire downstairs they say it's theirs and they're just taking it and there's nothing you can do about it until eventually you're literally just stuck in your bedroom. That's right. The metaphor. That's what's happening with Israel and Palestine. I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks they know. That's what's happening because we've heard it from the people that it's happening to. It has been confirmed that is what is happening. So they haven't been able to get any food or medical supplies. And yeah, this one was published 4/28/2025. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because it's still happening today. I purposely got an article. I didn't want to go super, super far back, but I purposely got an article that was older in date because if you still look this up, and this is Reuters, this is a reputable place. So all my articles will be reputable. I tried to get only .orgs or something that was absolutely reputable. And I know Reuters is reputable. 4/28/2025, a year ago, this is still happening.
Right.
They have not gotten any food or medical supplies in nearly 2 months before this. So now it has been a year since this started happening. And then two months later, they wrote about it. So now is when this started, and that's not even when it started. This is just when this part has kind of started because it's already been being flattened.
Right.
So now they've the longest ever blockade of the territory following the collapse of a 6-week ceasefire, if y'all remember that. Israel relaunched its ground campaign in mid-March and has since seized swaths of land and ordered residents, I believe I said, into like further away as they flatten the city. These people don't have homes. They live in rubble. So I have another article as well that also backs up what I was saying. This one is from ICTJ.org, latest news in Israel. Latest news Israel flattens Rafah ruins. So the Gazans basically are fearing that they're being planned to be herded into an area to be finished off. Because, I mean, they would know it's already been happening to them.
Right.
They already are walls surrounding where they are located. And the only other place that doesn't have a wall is the ocean.
Right. And how are they going to escape with no ships, boats, or anything like that?
Especially when ships and boats came to deliver aid and they were accosted by the Israeli Defense Force. So, and they were unarmed citizens. They were literally just traveling by boat to deliver aid because they hadn't been getting any aid. It was
Right.
the flotilla, I remember what it was called, the Freedom Flotilla or something like that. You can Google that. That shit was. It's all this stuff is free to look up because every single thing is a real thing that has been witnessed and seen. I was actually following their journey on TikTok. They were all posting live. The boats. So, since October 2023, Israel has wiped out 2,700 families in Gaza. That is full families that no longer exist. There's no bloodline left for them. In 6,000 families, there is just a single whole survivor that has been left behind. So basically, it would be like as if you literally were the only surviving member of your entire family because the rest of them have been killed. They were purposely targeting groups of families to make sure they took out as many numbers as possible when they would drop their missiles. This is just since October 2023. This one was written on my birthday of this year, this article. So this is a recent one. That's why I grabbed this one, because this has been going on since then, and that's why the other articles I went back to recent. So this is in the span. As 2023 was basically as far as I was like willing to consider for this, just to prove the point. Because since I became aware of this, I have been loud about it, as loud as I can be. 2,700 families gone. They don't exist anymore. Those bloodlines are lost from the records. 6,000 single members of a family line is all that's left. Oh, okay. So as you can see, thousands of U.S.-backed Israeli military attacks on the exclave became stories not only of individual casualties, but of lineage, heritage, and identity disappearing in an instant. 2,700 families gone, wiped out. 6,000 families with just a single member. This one is from truthout.com. No, truthout.org. The first article, like I said, this first screenshot about this topic I shared, NPR. That one was NPR.org. That one is the one surviving Palestinian of the 6,000. He shares his story, so it's a bit heavy. So you gotta make sure you're in a good space when you gotta read them. All these links are real information, real stories. So make sure that you're in a good space when you read them. There's a lot. So with that, the next one we're moving into real quick from that is how the Board of Peace ties into that. I know Madam Red wanted to talk about that.
Yes.
I don't really have it like info on that as far as like screenshots and stuff, because it's been something that's been getting talked about so widespread that you could just look up the Board of Peace and you can see everything right there, how they took $10 billion in tax money from us, and Board of Peace
put it into a private account that is not oversighted. So who is the purse of the United States? It is
Congress.
Exactly. So Congress is the oversight of everything, all of our spending, even starting wars. You have to get a congressional
Yes.
approval. So what Trump did is he appointed all of these people to the Board of Peace. Let me actually look up their members. There's 22 members.
Yes, there are.
Of all different types of countries. There's Argentina, there's Armenia, there's Azerbaijan, there's Bahrain. I don't know
I
how to
think that's
say
how you
that.
say that one, yeah.
Bulgaria, El Salvador, Hungary, Indonesia, Israel, Jordan, Kazakhstan. All of these countries, Qatar, all of these countries are part of this Board of Peace, who was started just recently by Donald Trump. So this isn't
Like
like
2 weeks ago.
exactly. This isn't something that has been in the works for a long time. It's literally something that he needed oversight of money. He needed money because we'll talk about the topic of the tariffs later, but he needs money
Yeah.
because things are happening. So he actually has an account where he transferred $10 billion of taxpayer monies. Taxpayers are complaining about the $37 from their taxpayer dollars that is used to help SNAP benefits and help feed children. They complain about the average of $37, but 10 million of taxpayer dollars was transferred into a fund so that there's a peace oversight for Gaza. What's really going to happen is he has $10 billion to literally just make oceanfront property for his rich billionaire friends, and they're going to live on the bodies of the people who
Yes.
lost their lives. So that's what the Board of Peace is. It's just an oversight for them to be able to make oceanfront
Which is why I
property.
left this up, because we are exterminating people so that rich
Exterminating them.
people can make oceanfront properties.
Children, babies are dying, and me saying that doesn't mean anything because it's just, you're right.
It's hard not to get angry. It's hard
It's
not to get past.
exhausting.
It's exhausting. It's hard. It's nerve wracking. It really is. All this shit going on. So yeah, the Board of Peace takes this money. And yeah, we will talk about that because we're not trying to overwhelm everything all at once because it's a lot. But the Board of Peace does tie back into what we will be discussing in just in a part of this episode.
Right.
It's really bad.
And we'll probably have more current event episodes like
Oh, for sure.
in later seasons and things like that. But we'll be a little more organized, and because I'm passionate and I have ADHD, so when you add passion and ADHD, there's a little chaos.
And let me tell you, I'm trying so hard to just keep making sure that it's still, and I'm ready to go on the tangents right with you. So it's very frustrating to see that this stuff is happening right in front of our faces, and it feels like not enough people are angry enough about it. And yeah, okay. So with that said, Board of Peace, but we also have ICE that is purchasing warehouses, for detention centers, and they are very much marked by secrecy, frustrating towns. People are getting very upset. This one is atnews.com. As you can see, this was live at the same time this was going on. Does this one have the date on here? I think it has it at the bottom. This is a very recent one as well, February 21st, 2026. Like I said, everything that we're talking about is relevant to today, what is going on right now today. So this is what current events is for. They are building these detention centers for one reason and one reason alone: to put in dissenters. That's all it is, point blank, period. Because if they're deporting undocumented immigrants back to the countries that they come from, they don't need to build more detention centers when they already have detention centers that are already allocated for that to begin with. I'll cut that ignorant shit out then, because apparently I just don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Bitch, I'm going to school for this. If I didn't know these things, then you should be like, oh, you dumb bitch. I don't think you should work at a law firm now. You're dumb.
But
But I
all
know.
right. Well, besides the all right, so then, but yeah, it is still raising concerns though because they're buying up these warehouses. Um.
Absolutely, absolutely. I was just letting you know
Oh
that
yeah, no,
that's
no,
the
no.
reason why. That's the
Besides that,
reason why.
part, no. But like at least like people are speaking out about it. So back to it. All right. So this is the rest of the article from the title that I had. So in a Texas town at the edge of the Rio Grande and a tall metal border wall, rumors told that federal immigration officials wanted to purchase 3 hulking warehouses to transform into a detention center. So now local officials are trying to find out what happened. While this is already just like happening, like a deed was already filed. Homeland Security is like 122.8 million deal for these warehouses. You need these big ass warehouses for a bedroom community of 40,000 people outside El Paso? What? Look, and they're even saying nobody from the government even bothered to fucking say something. And it's a predominantly Hispanic town of low slung ranch homes and trailer parks where orchards and irrigation ditches share the landscape with strip malls. What is so threatening? Because they're brown. Y'all are lucky that I don't look like my mother. Because let me tell you the way I'd be going off.
So one thing that I also wanted to talk about, which I forgot to mention to you, is about these detention centers. So the U.S. is moving pregnant immigrant girls to Texas to avoid abortions. So this is something that's very new that's happening. You know that one girl, she like usually talks about religion. She has like really cool hair. She has bangs. It's like sometimes black and red.
Monty?
Is yes, I believe that's her.
Yeah.
She's beautiful.
I love her.
Well, her.
She does
Love
like
her.
Bible deconstruction studies.
Yes,
Yes.
her. There have been transferred of unaccompanied girls as young as 13 years old who have been pregnant due to rape and human violations. And they're moving them to Texas because there are anti-abortion laws. And the anti-abortion laws does not allow an abortion, even in extreme cases like rape and
Well,
incest.
yeah, they want the
So
babies.
because right. So now the Trump administration is going to have to explain, but they're not going to because they're never going to explain anything to us. How did this happen to these girls? How did this happen to these? Why are we not more angry? What do you mean a 13-year-old child was in a detention center and now she's pregnant? What do you mean? What do you mean?
Right.
What do you mean that now, in order to avoid abortion, she's now being illegally, because now that's considered human trafficking because you're crossing state lines. You're transporting these children to a different detention center after they've been victims of a sexual crime.
Right.
That's crazy.
Right.
Like it's like our administration is just, I'm crying. I'm sorry. I saw a fucking thing that was like Trump's neck rash preventative skin treatment, White House says. Oh shit.
I
He
hope
got
it
a
eats his
neck rash.
head. I hope it eats his head.
I hope it's a brain eating amoeba, bro.
So, okay, so this one's from AmericanImmigrationCouncil.org, as you can see. Starting, this is down, they're still going, but from July 2025, Congress did something unprecedented. It gave the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, a total of $45 billion to be spent on immigration detention. More than a decade of normal funding in one big pot of cash. Meanwhile, leopard meat face because these motherfuckers still have not gotten paid. That's fucking crazy. Well, anyway, so they gave these motherfuckers all this money for this blown ass budget. I still don't know where it went though, because again, these motherfuckers haven't gotten paid. But now they can't quit because if they do quit, they'll have to pay back whatever they've gotten, and I guess maybe they would have gotten for this year, but like technically they haven't gotten paid. So like if they quit, are they gonna have to pay anything back? Like
Technically, yes, because just because it's back paid doesn't mean that they're not going to get paid. They'll eventually probably get paid for it, and then they have to give that money back. Or if they quit now, whatever their bonus was may just be null and void.
Yeah, they'll just take it.
But
Like,
since they signed a contract, I'm not sure how that works. You have to read the fine print.
yeah,
They
and
did
I ain't
not
doing
read the
that.
they didn't read anything.
But yeah, so yeah, they have these warehouses that they're just building up, and at least, I mean, I guess in a way it's an upgrade from tents to warehouses. But if you've never worked in a warehouse, those are not made to live in. Especially if they're not entirely and a lot of warehouses are like solid, like brick and mortar. Like, I mean, like they cut off service. Like, I've worked in warehouses. In the summer, them shits are ovens. In the winter, them shits are freezers. They aren't. They don't have that capacity. A lot of warehouses also have a lot of issues. I'm just gonna say that. And it's just the fact that it's a warehouse. It's just to be expected. I personally don't see how they could really make it that much humane for people to be there long term.
Well, they don't. They leave the lights on 24 hours a day. They don't give them access to clean water. They don't give them access to food. Women don't get access to hygiene products. They're treating them inhumane. Like there's oh God, I should have looked this up first. I'm so sorry. There was I believe it was a senator that went to one of the detention centers in Florida
Yeah.
and was absolutely fucking appalled by the way that they were being treated. And they were first denied the right to go inside and investigate. And this is what an administrative warrant is. So an administrative warrant is for people like health code people, fire safety, fire marshals, for a Senate to go and make sure that human rights are being upheld. That's what an administrative warrant is for. It's
Right.
not for ICE to use to go into people's houses. That's not, there's no code that is being violated. There's no public safety that is being upheld because you're performing an administrative warrant. So that's what an administrative warrant is. They needed to go inside, and you don't need a signed search warrant like that from a judge or a magistrate. When you're using an administrative warrant, you can go in. You don't need the actual warrant.
Right.
So you don't have to wait for it to be signed, basically. So, but they were trying to deny the senator access to get into these detention centers because they knew that the living conditions were deplorable. They knew how horrible they were treating these fucking people, and they didn't want anybody to see it. So they were like, no, you can't come in.
Yep.
But he ended up being granted the right to come in, and now there's like a big uproar about it.
All right. So the next segment that we have a little bit that we want to address is specifically ICE violence and how it has escalated. ICE has been around for several years now, several presidential terms, and has been funded by every president that's been around. But that's why the last slide where we had it said that it was they got a much more bloated budget than they have in all the other years that they've ever had. And unfortunately, especially with what was going on in Minnesota, which we will also be leading into a little bit more of that, is that ICE is going very far beyond what they're allowed to do. They are doing things that they really are just not allowed to do, such as secretly adopting aggressive new policies towards entering homes and making arrests without judicial warrants. So they think that they are allowed to do this. I'm trying to get out of the way so I can show that again. They think that they're allowed to do this, if you see down here, and they're not. They're twisting the words, and Madam Red is going to explain the difference between a judicial warrant and an administrative warrant, because they're entering without judicial warrants, and they're making arrests without judicial warrants entirely. So, Madam Red, take it away.
So an administrative warrant, like I said earlier, is something for code inspections to make sure that things are up to code, to make sure that it's pretty much to protect the public. So like a fire marshal, those type of a health inspector, um, federal workers, housing authorities, those people, they're allowed to check on the safety of a building, the safety of a business, all of those things. That's what an administrative warrant is. So that gives no right to to start an arrest. And once a criminal investigation begins, so once an administrative warrant turns into a criminal investigation, so say if there's enough probable cause to launch a criminal investigation, an administrative warrant is now null and void. So they're now no longer allowed to use the administrative warrant if they launch a criminal investigation. And my source for this is my textbook. I will get it. It is Matt Lippman, 2023. It's for criminal evidence and procedures. I just learned that. So, anyway,
Pocket.
so and then
Miseducated.
secondly, a judicial warrant is one that is signed by a judge or a magistrate. So this is a judicial warrant that a police officer needs to sign an affidavit, to submit an affidavit of probable cause. And once the probable cause is sent to a judge or magistrate, the judge or magistrate then determines if there is enough probable cause to issue a warrant. That's why sometimes if an officer submits for a warrant, they can be denied for a warrant because the judge may find that there's not sufficient enough evidence for you to enter a property. So there is a significant difference between an administrative warrant, and that's what ICE is using to say I can enter your home, and that is not constitutional. There's no constitutional ground standing at all where an administrative warrant allows them to enter your home, especially a private property, because they're not looking for codes, they're looking for a person. That's not checking the codes, that's not checking to make sure that your house has a fire plan, enough windows, enough. It's not
Enough points of
those
egress
things.
and shit, or if and the
Exactly.
right structural stuff. Yeah, right. It's not
Exactly.
looking
It's
for that.
not checking the
You're trying to
structural
look for
integrity.
people, so that doesn't work for that.
Exactly. So that is not allowed. That they can't do it. And there is a thing that if, say, a fire marshal is coming into a house, but that's not ICE, so this is again null and void. But if a fire marshal comes into a house and then they see evidence that's like out, like say drug paraphernalia or anything like that, anything that is in view even during an administrative warrant is seizable.
Yeah.
So you're not protected by your Fourth Amendment for that situation, but that doesn't count because again, it's being conducted by the correct federal agency to do this. It's being conducted by the proper person and not ICE. ICE isn't supposed to use administrative warrants to enter any type of facility, building, business, any of that. Any private property, they're not allowed to use that. They have to get a judicial warrant signed by a magistrate or a judge. They have to send in an affidavit. Again, the judge has to determine whether or not there's enough sufficient evidence. And then when they go in to check, they're only allowed to check common areas. So if I have a bedroom and they're looking for you and you have a bedroom, they're allowed to check your bedroom because the warrant is for you. And they're allowed to check every common area. So the bathroom, they're allowed to check the kitchen. They're allowed to check everything, but they can't check my bedroom.
Yes.
So if you're hiding in my bedroom, well, then that's harboring a fugitive. So then that's more probable cause. But then they have to get another warrant to check my bedroom.
And by that point, the person should be gone. So now you're fine.
Unless it's extingent circumstances. So there are some circumstances where a warrantless search is allowed. So that might be extingent circumstances. So don't quote me on that. But I believe if you're hiding in there, but if there's evidence in my room and you're not hiding, it's just evidence is in my room, they can't check my room unless it's seen. Unless like I went in my room and while I was closing my door, the officer was like, wait, I see that. Then they're allowed to check it and take it. But if I close the door before they come in and my door is closed and locked and everything like that, they're not allowed to search my room, even if it has drugs in it, because they don't know it has drugs. That's fucking Schrodinger's cat at that point.
Yeah. So, carrying on with the fact that ICE has been excessively violent, there has been a number of deaths at their hands. Some citizens, some non. All of them are terrible, but I'm going to highlight the fact that they are killing U.S. citizens without discretion. March 15, 2025, U.S. citizen, 23-year-old Ruben Ray Martinez was shot and killed by an ICE Homeland Security investigation agent in South Padre Island, Texas. The killing followed what ICE described as a failure to follow law enforcement instructions during a traffic incident as agents worked with local police on immigration enforcement. However, sources confirmed that Homeland Security investigations was assisting with traffic control following a major accident rather than conducting immigrant enforcement. As they claimed, the Department of Homeland Security did not acknowledge the killing until media actually blew it up this year. In this article that I will link, you can see that they brought this up February, I think 13th. Matter of fact, let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Yeah, February. So they didn't bring this one up. They didn't acknowledge this killing until February 2026, which I think is crazy. This one was an off-duty ICE agent shot and killed Keith Porter, 43-year-old father of two, in the Northridge neighborhood of Los Angeles on December 31st, 2025. Porter's family and local activists have argued that, contrary to the DHS's portrayal of the events, Porter was not threatening anyone and was celebrating the new year by firing shots into the air, said The Guardian. There is no body camera footage of the killing, which remains the subject of active litigation. Now, I do believe it is not legal to just fire shots into the air, but that's not a reason for an ICE agent to shoot and kill somebody.
Right. An off-duty ICE agent should not, like, you're off-duty.
Right.
If he was a threat to the public, that would have been something different. But to shoot shots into the air, especially on New Year's, context is very big. There was no need. Their use of excessive force needs to be justified.
Yes.
You need to have been in grave danger in a way that you couldn't retreat, you couldn't leave, you couldn't do any of those things. You had to do it because your life was in imminent danger. And if he wasn't doing anything and he was shooting in the air, your life is not in imminent danger. Nobody's life is in imminent danger. Maybe a bird, maybe a bat, maybe a flying something, but you're not in imminent danger.
Like, yeah, it could always come back down, but that's why it's like reckless, like whatever it's called, like reckless endangerment with a weapon. You could just arrest him. You could have just called police and had him arrested.
So he could have just called the police.
Right.
That's what he should have done.
Instead, who
knows? The police probably would have fucking shot him.
I mean, this is also possible. So, but you know what? It's still like the excessive force, like, it needs to also stop, because there's so many other ways to arrest somebody and take somebody down. This one, we have the unarmed 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good, mother of three, January 7, 2026. So that was here. This is what was going on in Minneapolis. So, as part of a broader operation, there was a large number of federal agents. According to all the videos that have been observed and released, she literally was just observing and was trying to pull away and was actually trying to wave other cars forward when they stopped and started surrounding and started threateningly and menacingly going towards her vehicle. And as she tried to drive away, they shot through her windshield and killed her, and then did not let medics come to help her.
Aid her. Yeah.
So they stopped. And so witnesses said that she was trying to drive away. And they tried to say that it was a much more complicated picture, but it wasn't a complicated picture because there were so many angles of video released from the bystanders that it was very clear what was happening and what happened.
What's scary is that we saw what happened and they still labeled her as a domestic terrorist, and they tried to make us believe that what we saw
that she ran over an ICE agent.
Right.
And she didn't. There's like 7 different videos.
Says for ICE agents, training says that they're not allowed to put themselves in the position of a vehicle. They're not allowed to put themselves in front of danger. They're not allowed, like training says that that's not what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to de-escalate the situation and remove themselves from harm. And he didn't do that. And then he called her a fucking bitch afterwards.
Because people caught that on the hot mic. We have 37-year-old nurse from the VA and U.S. citizen Alex Pretty, who was then shot and killed on January 24th, 2026, in the Whittier neighborhood of Minneapolis. So this is still going on all that time later. Video footage of the killing showed that while Pretty was legally carrying a firearm, he never unholstered it and had been disarmed when the officers fired at him. Footage shows DPB agents firing at least 10 shots in a span of 5 seconds at Pretty while he was already subdued on the ground, and seems to contradict the Department of Homeland Security's hold on 1 second to that. Account of the encounter, which the agency said began after individual armed with a handgun approached the federal agents with the intent to massacre them. Okay, that's not what happened. He literally was just holding his phone in his hand. We have multiple video proof of that. All in all, so far, 32 people have died in ICE detention facilities in 2025, all after President Trump was sworn into office for his second term. They've died of seizure, heart failure, stroke, respiratory failure, tuberculosis, or suicide. Some died at ICE detention centers and field offices. Others after they had been transferred to hospitals but were still under ICE custody. It was the highest number of deaths in detention since 2004. A large number of deaths have sparked criticism from advocates and human rights activists who say that the scale of the Trump administration's enforcement operation and the haste with which some new facilities are being opened will lead to unnecessary deaths. I will be posting the links for all of this. This link is from theweek.com and has linkage and citations for every single source and site that's on this list. It's quite extensive, actually. It's from FDD.org. So we have the Supreme Court had issued a significant blow to the Trump administration's trade policy. On February 20th, the High Court ruled that Donald Trump's application of tariffs under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act violates a legal principle known as the Major Questions Doctrine. This means the president requires express authorization from Congress before imposing such tariffs. So, Madam Red wanted to make sure that this gets addressed. So I'm going to let her take this one.
The issue is, even though the Supreme Court ruled that the tariffs were unconstitutional, Trump is going to try to use different sections, authority under different sections to be able to impose tariffs. So there's one section that he's going to pursue now. So it's going to be the Section 122 of the Trade Act of 1974. So that will give him 15%. I believe it's 5% now, and then it allows him to add an additional 10% of tariffs, like a blanket tariff, basically. And those of you, just in case you don't know what a tariff is, it is a tax that is on imports, and you, the consumer, is who pays it. It's not the corporations, it's not other countries, it's you. So that's why.
How much in tariffs? I think the number was like 175 billion or million.
That's I don't know the exact number because he lies all the time. He says so many numbers and then it's not true. So like how he said that he gave from the tariffs, that he gave $1,776 to the military people for a bonus over the holidays. He said that was from tariff money, but now it was actually veiled that it was actually from the big beautiful bill. It was already allocated, and it was part of a housing allotment that they were supposed to get. So it wasn't actually from tariff. So we don't even know where this tariff money is, and Trump needs to pay that money back. But anyway, because of these certain tariff authorities and the sections in the constitutions that he's going to try to use, some of these, like the one that I said, it's going to be a 10% on top of the 5% that we all already have. So a total of 15%. And it's the Section 122 Trade Act of 1974. And then you basically have 150 days. And then after the 150 days, Congress votes on it. And if they strike it down, then he's going to try another one, which is Section 232, the Trade Expansion Act of 1962. And then he's going to try Section 338 of the Tariff Act of 1930. Now, the Section 338 allows him, I believe, up to 50% to tariff up to 50%. So he has a lot of loopholes and authority that he can go through to still impose tariffs. And because he's so angry that the Supreme Court went against him, and he's such a child that he's just like, well, you said no, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to ask daddy. Mommy said no, I'm going to go through daddy. I'm going to go through other means so that I can still get what I want.
I'm just going to do it anyway.
A child that has never heard the word no without having a tantrum. So he went all over Truth Social talking about how incompetent the Supreme Court is. Like, these are the highest people. The grueling process of being a Supreme Court justice, to be nominated as a Supreme Court justice, and then you have to go through a trial where you're in front of the entire Congress, and they ask you questions, and they demand things, and they literally put your whole business out in the open. My site check for that is a paper that I had to write on Supreme Court justice nominees. But it's a grueling process to be a Supreme Court member. So these are not inept people. These are not people who don't know how to make a decision. These are not people who haven't seen a case before and been like, no, this is not constitutionally sound. This is not a part of the Constitution.
Right.
So unfortunately, even though the Supreme Court said nay, Trump is still saying
it's still going to passionately try to do something. All right. Real quick, as you can see, like I said, I'll be linking all of these for you all to be able to read by yourselves as well. This is what Madam Ed was talking about. His other different ways that he has to throw basically a temper tantrum. He could just do all of these, each with different things. It's a whole bunch of like tangled bureaucratic mess of bullshit to get everybody stuck on these fucking tariffs, to keep everybody distracted from the fact that this entire country is economically falling apart.
What's also sad is that even after the Trump administration, well, it's not sad. It's not even disappointing at this point. What's also regular about this administration is that Trump literally was like, oh, you told me no. We're going to have our speakers, like, the administration made it very clear that they're not going to turn away from tariffs. Like you
just said. Like you literally just said. Within hours of the ruling, Trump said he was using a different law to reimpose taxes on global imports. Within hours of them telling him no, and he immediately turned around and tried to find another way to do it. So you said there's a cover that even though they struck it down, so here it talks about how consumers likely won't see cheaper prices at the grocery store, shopping mall. Economists say, economists. Despite the Supreme Court striking down many of President Trump's tariffs. There's a couple reasons why. For one, the president has many tools to impose tariffs, and the court decision last week only deemed one of them unconstitutional. So they only said that one was unconstitutional. He said, I'm going to give you three more. Right. And his minimum already went for three more. So this is that. Madam Red, you can take it. So this one's from NPR. So what do you think? Do you think that Congress is going to be able to find a way to stop him from doing these tariffs altogether? Because
Probably. Well, the Act of 1974, probably, because they have the right to strike it down after 150 days. But that's if they strike it down.
This is your friendly reminder to make sure you drink water, have a snack. Make sure you take care of yourself. It's a lot. Okay. There are a lot of things going on, and that's why we are doing minimum one current event episode a season. There might be more depending on things that happen. We might have to turn around and make like an emergency broadcast, like, hey, by the way, just to make sure everybody knows it, because who knows who shares what, who knows who sees what. And it's important to make sure that we all stay informed as much as possible. And but you also have to make sure that you stay regulated. So this is your reminder to get up, take a little walk around, a few minutes, drink some water, like I said, maybe wash your face, maybe listen to your favorite song real quick, maybe listen to something funny, because it's real. It gets heavy and it gets hard to deal with hearing all of this stuff all the time. And we're trying to establish a community where people are informed and feel safe in communicating that they don't feel safe.
Right.
So we can work on finding ways and figuring out ways to make you feel safe. That's important to us. So yeah, make sure, take a break, pause for a bit, and then come back and join us for the rest of the episode. So, yeah, in relation to what we had talked about earlier, we have Prince Andrew.
Well, he's not even Prince Andrew. He's Andrew of Baton Windsor.
Yeah, I was gonna say former, actually. He was arrested for his connections to the Epstein files. Okay, so King's brother, this man, got arrested, and you know what this man said? Well, law's got to be done. Law's got to be listened to. He ain't getting saved. They ain't no way saving him. No. I mean, they'll save him because, eventually I'm sure somebody will either come and break him out or they'll save him. With a long, a quick drop, a long drop with a quick stop. That's how they call that. But make them look like that. And then scurry him off somewhere. So... But this is the type of examples of bullshit that I'm talking about, because they did this. The British police went and it's like the first time they've arrested royalty in I don't even know how many years. I think it says it in this article, which I will be posting. This one is npr.org. The next one that I'm going to be pulling up in just a second is also npr.org, because these happened in the same time frame. South Korean President Yoon receives a life sentence for imposing martial law and trying to start an insurrection. Our sitting president has done both of these things and has not faced a single ounce of punishment.
Really quick. So he likes to say that it was Biden's FBI that was he likes to say that it was Biden's FBI that sent out agents to incite things to cause all this. What he fails to realize is that he was the sitting president when this happened. So whose FBI was it?
They blame presidents that weren't even presidents for things all the time. It's just their thing. So this is why I make sure I make it a point. These things happened to other countries and it was dealt with. Two separate people did these two separate things. Our president did both of them. And he's still sitting. So...
And he's done so many things against congressional approval that they're it's Bill Clinton got impeached for less. And I'm not even
for perjury. The perjury was the main thing. Lying under oath. That was the main. That was actually the main thing that he got impeached for. Everybody tries to draw. Oh, he got impeached for the Lewinsky scandal. No, it was really for the lying under oath. Because he was that.
And he also got he was also accused by Paula Jones. I believe her name was Paula Jones. She accused him of sexual harassment
Yeah.
too.
So, like, and him, this one, it baffles me. Which leads us into our next point. Okay. So here we have update from January 7, 2026. This is how fucking psychotic this guy is. That he still has intensified his stance on Greenland and moving on beyond past talk of potential purchase to openly framing U.S. control of the territory as a matter of national security. Okay.
Well, now that's put on hold so that we can bomb Iran. Well,
Right, but
sorry.
this won't be as on hold for long because now he'll probably try to use that as a reason, saying we need this now to protect us from anything else out there because he's trying.
The national security.
I was going to say national security. So now he said he's declined to rule out the use of economic or military pressure to achieve his aims. This will be important at the end of the episode with our last topic that we have in that order, so that we don't try to stray too far from things. Because he's already doing this somewhere else. So I personally believe I personally believe he's trying out what he's doing elsewhere to see how successful that'll be for when he tries it out here. Because he's already doing this elsewhere. So a sharp escalation has drawn swift backlash from the Greenlandic and Danish leaders and raised alarms among U.S. allies. Yeah, no, the rest of the world is like crazy because they're like, you cannot just invade Greenland. You cannot just do that. This one is from identifytruth.org. So, like he doesn't stop talking about Greenland. He doesn't stop. He's like a temper tantrum having child that says, I want it. It's like Veruca from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I want it now.
I want a golden egg.
I want the squirrel. Yeah, because you're a bad nut. So this is how yeah, so this is what he thinks. Like, so his promise of like that he thought that he was gonna get everything back to like how it was before COVID, was what kind of like got him like up a little bit further, but he just keeps on focusing on Greenland, which belongs already to someone else. That's like someone coming and just saying that they own Puerto Rico now. Because that's a territory like that, like the Virgin Islands, like that's like a lot of like that is like a lot of the Caribbeans is like in our like regions. So, like somebody coming and saying like that they're just like taking that shit is like, you can't just have that. That's what we're doing to Greenland, like what Trump keeps trying to do to Greenland, and it's like you cannot just go to an existing place and just be like, this is ours now.
Right.
It's from ceps.eu. So the thing is, Denmark didn't really want to put this on the EU agenda. That's why response has been a little bit slow, but they've been speaking out. So they really don't like, as you can see, they're literally like, yo, can y'all like, can you show some balls? That's really what that means. Can you show some balls? For example, by threatening to close U.S. military bases in Europe, ban purchases of U.S. treasuries, or impose curbs on the reach of the tech oligarchs in the EU, alongside tariffs on certain goods that America needs from Europe. So, like, they're literally like, no. They want to keep trying to take Greenland. They need to be punished. They need to stop. They cannot just do that. So if they're going to do that, then we need to show them that we don't actually need to rely on them if they're going to be getting too big for their britches.
Right, because with NATO, attack on one is an attack on all.
And now the whole thing is like NATO as we know it would then have to dissolve because we're part of NATO. And then we'd no longer be part of NATO. They'd have to reform without being centered around us and against us. Like, that's crazy. And why? Because of greed? Because you don't want to take care of our own country. You just want to like bulldoze the rest of the world and fucking build a parking lot. Like I
Right,
don't
because
understand
of
this.
their, I believe it's like rare earth minerals, fossil rare earth minerals, I believe
Everywhere's
it
got
is.
fossil fuels and earth minerals. That's why we're always going there to take their oil and their gems. It's so annoying. Like, yo, just leave these places alone. We have our own money.
When you're greedy like that, you just
There's
want
no
more.
stop.
You want to hoard more.
There's just no stop. It just keeps going. All right. So in this segment of the episode, Friday into Saturday, United States and Israel bombed Iran, hitting an elementary school, killing how many, Madam Red?
175 children.
That's deplorable. On top of
Deplorable.
that, we've killed 40 of their leaders, including their supreme leader. And now Donald Trump is urging them to like rise up against its government. Hello, we need to take that advice for ourselves. Thank you. Actually, Iran has responded by firing ballistic missiles and drones at U.S. assets and allies across the region, targeting Israel, Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, and Jordan, to say the least. The military bases, our military bases that are over there, has been hit. Naval bases, all kinds of stuff he has hit. Because they're retaliating. We just attacked a school. Even if there was suspicion of bombs or anything being made under that school or in that school, you have well past the technology being able to figure out if there's children or anybody else in there that shouldn't be in there before you go and bomb it to smithereens. Okay? Children are you don't touch children. Okay? Women and children you don't harm. They are like to be I don't understand. Okay? Yeah, it boggles my mind. All right? So that technically is war. Like,
well, another issue is now about 10 hours ago, about 8 hours ago, Iran attacked a military base in Cyprus, which now brings in the Europe, the EU. It because Cyprus is a territory just like Puerto Rico, just like
right.
that. It's a territory of I believe the UK, and they attacked there. So now it's expanding. So now it's expanding into a world war.
Right.
Now
Eventually
they're
it's gonna be.
involving.
Because
They're
once there's enough like there's an actual like constitution, like a number of stuff that makes like there's a
Yeah, it was a UK base. It was a
there is
UK base in Cyprus.
yeah. Yeah. So with that, there is like there needs to be a certain amount of certain powered countries that are involved, and that could have just pulled it into it actually being able to be declared a world war with
A
that
world
point.
war.
So
Because
that's crazy. So Iran's Civil Aviation Organization has said that its airspace is closed. There are people that are stuck from other countries in Iran right now because of what's been going on. So yeah, there's been more than 200 people killed, more than 700 injured across the country. The number of this went up because the explosion at the school in southern Iran. That number is now gone up by like another 30, I believe, that Madam Red had said. Because this was an article that I had saved right as soon as like it pretty much was happening. And then yeah, here's the 40 Iranian officials that were killed. You'll be able to read all of that on the links that I post. Oh, as you can see, more proof of it and what he's trying to do. And now that we're sending over there, like this man literally, I'm sure if y'all have been on the internet for more than 5 minutes, you've seen the memes that compare it to some of you may die, but that's just a sacrifice I'm willing to make, because he literally is just like, it's just what happens when you go to war. There's just casualty, and yeah, but not for like the people who start the wars.
right.
The children have to go. The poor have to go. And it'll never make sense to me. Y'all go, Mr. Bone Spurs.
Mr. Neck Rash.
Jeez. So with
So now, because of this, 3 service members, so the first 3 American casualties so far, they've been killed, and 5 other people have been injured during a U.S. attack.
and while all of this is also going on, our last segment, this is what I was talking about when I said we'll talk about this later when I was referencing Cuba, Greenland, saying that eventually the economic squeeze that he's going to put on them, he's already doing to Cuba. Cuba's supply of crude oil. Oh, by the way, before I forget, this is massively important, and they have not reported this because they do not want us to panic, because they know what they want us to blame when it comes to increasing in oil and stuff. Iran controls a strait that has where 20% of oil from the world's production comes through, and they have shut that shit down. And I learned this later, so I wasn't able to get the screenshot for it, but I will get a link to back this up when I put it, when it's uploaded and stuff. 20% of the world's oil comes through there, and they have turned around and say, yes, shut that shit down. So that has not been reported. So yeah, so be prepared for gas prices and shit like that to go up. So if your house is heated with oil, be lucky that we're pretty much ending winter soon, depending on where you are. Following with that, circling back to Greenland, what he's doing to Cuba right now, I'm pretty sure he wants to exacerbate to make sure that he can do it with Greenland. Because here we are with a friendly takeover of Cuba, while he's cutting off their supply of crude oil, and their tourists are fleeing. Cuba and the islands down there thrive off tourism. They need it to survive. And now, because they have no oil, their businesses are shutting down, and he's pressuring them to make a deal. The deal that is in Trump's favor, leading them to be at his mercy. Once Cuba is fully at his mercy, like, he don't care about freeing them. It's literally okay. So, what is meant by friendly takeover? Experts on U.S. policy towards Cuba believe the president's tactics are likely more about creating business opportunities for American companies than about toppling the communist regime of President Miguel Diaz-Canel. Okay, so he wants to meet with Cuban authorities, and they're like you're destroying us. You're destroying our economy. For what?
Just for shits and gigs at this point. Just because he needs more money. Just because he failed at making a ballroom and his little fucking bunker. He just wants to hoard money. He's a failed businessman. He's always been a failed businessman. My cat even agrees.
Oh. He literally is so crazy about this. He signed an executive order threatening tariffs against any country that supplies oil to the Cuban government or its state-run enterprises. He's strangling.
These fucking tariffs, man.
He's literally strangling the economy of an entire country, where to the point where people will be dying.
He doesn't care.
He doesn't care. So this has been all going on back to back to back is to keep distracted and so he don't get arrested. All this other stuff that's going on behind the scenes as well, it's all tied together. All of this is relevant to this man establishing a full dictatorship. It's already pretty much there, but it's not just blatantly there. And it'll be blatantly there when it's supposed to be an exchange of power, and that doesn't happen. So you need to stay informed. You need to stay educated. You need to stay safe. And you need to stay, like, with friends, family, like, community. Like, you need to stay in touch. It is important that you decompress and do things that you find joy in, that bring you peace and relaxation. And it's important to talk about the feelings that you're feeling regarding a lot of this information and the more information that keeps on happening. make sure that you are talking to people, because keeping a lot of this stuff in is heavy. This stuff is heavy and scary. I'm not ashamed to admit that I'm scared of this shit happening, because this shit is scary. But I also am ready to help fight in any way that I can, even if that's just spreading information for right now. So make sure
knowledge is key. Knowledge is key. Being informed is very important.
It's the greatest thing you can do for yourself is stay educated and informed.
And even if you don't want to listen to Trump speak himself, or if you don't want to hear these people, some of these like influencers are on TikTok, like the news girl and Let's Discuss Something. They break it down really well, and they have sources, and
the Daily Scream is a good one like that too.
Yeah, Spencer.
I love him.
Good.
I've learned a lot because of him.
Great. Yes. Of course,
there's another
Dean
one that
Parker.
I follow as well. There's another one that I follow that specifically does.
Oh, Perlman 500. He's the one who screams, the ginger who screams. Perlman, he's always.
Yeah, there's a few of them that are making sure that information stays out there.
Under the
there's
desk,
other places.
I believe there's someone called Under the Desk. She's great.
Yeah, there's a lot. You can easily find ones and check the sources that they say to make sure that they're legit for you and stuff, what you follow, and that you're not just being blindly followed by anybody, blindly following anybody. And damn it, what the fuck was I gonna say?
Well, a way to research something and know that you're getting a credible source is to put in your Google search .org before you do anything. So .org, Trump says he has immunity. .org, Trump says he did this. And then it'll be all of the .orgs. I know Wikipedia is also a .org, but it'll give you like NPR. It'll give you .org. You could even look up .gov. So if you put that in the search before you put anything, it'll give you all of the reliable sources before giving you just news articles and Reddit and bullshit. It'll filter it through a little better. So you can see, you're like, oh, okay. Because honestly, Google is very strange. When you look up something, if you're not using keywords, it'll give me a different search than it gives you.
Yes.
Because I've seen that happen before.
Yes.
Where I type something, but I use keywords differently than you have, and I have different information, and that's very confusing. Yes, I've seen that before. I've had it happen myself. I typed it in just slightly different, and it gives me a different answer. So yeah, we try our best to stay on track. We get very passionate about what's going on. We want to make sure that everybody stays informed, that we stay informed, that we always have the right information. There was a few times where we even had to fact check ourselves real quick in here, and there's no shame in that shit, because learning and acknowledging that you didn't know the full story is important. Right, and we're not professionals, so we're not. It's just in our honest opinion, and it's just what we're getting from search engines and what we're researching. And we're not professionals. That's exactly why we have the citations that we found, because we wanted to make sure that what we said came from sources, and we wanted our opinions to be fact-based, because that's important. Right. Not every opinion needs to be fact-based. Like, I love the color red because it makes me feel warm. Right. Like that shit like that doesn't need to be a fact-based opinion. But I believe it's wrong what we're doing to Cuba, because we're starving them of resources, and they're losing money, which means that they'll eventually be losing more resources, and things will be going pretty bad. Right. So, and it's fact-based. I can tell you why. Steven Universe song. So we hope that we were able to educate a little bit, and we hope that you'll educate yourselves more with the links that I'll be providing below in the description. So until next time, stay safe. Make sure, like I said, keep your community together. Make sure you stay informed, stay educated, and hug your loved ones. Until next time, this is Blazing Dragon signing out. Man, I'm ready. Bye-bye. Bye, buddy.